Let's call them President Trump's twin pathologies: the absolute refusal to admit to any sort of fallibility no matter what, and the unshakable faith in lying as an instrument of power that can be wielded with impunity. In her much-anticipated interview with Rachel Maddow, Mary Trump explained how each of these functions for her uncle with unsettling clarity. The ways in which these tendencies poisoned our response to one of the most monumental domestic crises of modern times, when understood in the terms offered by the president's niece, help explain and expose how we ended up in the current catastrophe. With coronavirus cases hitting a record high of more than 70,000 new cases on Thursday, Mary Trump bluntly diagnosed the president's role in the worsening crisis, insisting that he is simply incapable of succeeding at taming the virus. She said this. Mary Trump also endeavored to explain all the president's lies. She recounted that her uncle once randomly lied about her, which prompted Maddow to note that he seemed to take pleasure in you being helpless about it. "It really is a power play," the president's niece declared, adding, "Most of the time people don't correct him, which completely plays into his hands. Because then he can do it with impunity." Countless journalists and armchair psychologists have ventured similar interpretations. But when someone with such unique qualifications, a clinical psychologist who had a front-row view of the forces that shaped the president, offers such a startling reading of the most powerful head case on the planet, we should probably take notice. What's notable is that the known facts very much comport with these explanations. In turn, those known facts become more intelligible when we're armed with this understanding. In retrospect, it's clear that again and again, those tendencies have infected the response with a kind of toxicity that we still struggle to explain in plain language, but that clearly pulled us toward the current catastrophe. In January, when Trump's advisors alerted him to the pandemic, he raged that public warnings would rattle the markets and his re-election hopes. Trump's faith in his ability to warp reality with impunity irresistibly tugged him toward another way. He denied the existence of the threat for many weeks, letting it rampage out of control. Mary Trump helps us understand why. Faith in these powers of deception were built up over years of wielding them with little consequence, and this became an exercise of power in and of itself, a kind of default setting he can always fall back upon. It's also clear in retrospect that when Trump declared in March that, "I don't take responsibility at all," for the epic failure to mobilize testing, it was a seminal moment, a declaration that he would not do this at any point henceforth, no matter what.